Welcome, my friends, to today's episode. In this video, I'm bringing you a topic that I find absolutely fascinating. A habit that is extremely important to successful people. And what does that mean? People who make a lot of money, they have this habit. People with amazing bodies, they have it too. And even people who are deeply fulfilled in love and relationships, they also share this habit. See, when we talk about success, we can't just limit it to one specific area. Success is a big concept, and this habit is like a universal key that helps you go deep into any field you want to master. And what's even more special about it is this is an incredibly small, incredibly simple habit that anyone can build. So, what is this habit? Well, let me reveal it through the short story to get us started, all right? This is the story of a very wealthy writer, Stephen King. He owns a fortune of around $500 million and is considered one of the most successful fiction authors in history. Let me repeat that. One of the most successful in history. So this man has both fame and fortune. Pretty much the definition of success, right? That $500 million figure, yes, I double-checked it. It comes from Yahoo Finance, one of the most trusted sources when it comes to financial news, especially about celebrity net worth. If you regularly follow business news, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. Now, what does Stephen King have to do with our topic today? This habit that every successful person seems to have? Well, let me tell you something. Stephen King is actually famous for his writing routine. His habit. Every morning, he starts his day in a very simple way. He sits down, drinks a glass of water, or maybe a cup of tea. Sometimes he takes his vitamins, puts on some light music, and then he begins to write. Sounds super ordinary, doesn't it? His ideal writing window is usually between 8:30 in the morning and noon. Still sounds very normal. Stephen King used to set a goal of writing about 2,000 words a day. But over time, he scaled it down. Now he aims for about 1,000 words a day. So basically, every day when he wakes up, there's only one thing on his mind. Today, I want to write 1,000 words. That's it. But you see, just that one simple habit. Do you know how many books he's written? 60 completed books, and over 400 million copies sold worldwide. So then, what exactly is his habit? Hard work, right? Sounds reasonable, but no, I'm not talking about hard work. Waking up early, maybe? Nope. That stuff, you've already heard it a million times. Everybody says that. It's too common. What I want to talk about in this episode, I like to call a root habit. Meaning, this one habit is like a seed that grows and branches out into a bunch of other good, healthy habits. So what is this root habit? Hold on. I'll reveal it in just a moment. First, let's take a look at another example. In a totally different universe. There's this young guy, 28 years old, named Andrew. Now, Andrew isn't rich like Stephen King. He's not famous either. But in the world of personal health, you could say he's very successful. Why? Because Andrew has these super muscular arms, the kind you'd admire or even dream of having. And when he went for a full health checkup, guess what? No issues, not a single one. The doctor even looked surprised and said, "Wow, Andrew, you are incredibly healthy. I've worked here for years and rarely see anyone in your kind of shape." Andrew can go all day full of energy, while most of his friends are crashing halfway through. And to reach that level of health success, guess what? Andrew also had a root habit. Yep, underline that. Root habit. Just like Stephen King. And let me repeat this because it's so important. A root habit is that foundational habit, the one that gives birth to many other powerful, positive habits. Like what? Staying consistent at the gym, eating clean, keeping his weight in check, getting enough sleep, staying mentally balanced, and so on. And now, we've reached the most important part. What is this root habit? My friends, this habit is surprisingly simple. Every day, just think about what you want to do. Then find a way to do it. Sounds familiar, right? It's so simple, it almost feels too easy. But it's incredibly important. Let me say it again before we break it down, because once you truly understand it, you'll realize this one simple habit can determine most of your success or failure in life. Every day, think about what you want, and then find a way to do it. Stephen King is the perfect example. Every day he wakes up calmly and with clarity. He knows exactly what he wants to do. Today, I need to write at least 1,000 words. That's it. And then he finds a way to make it happen. Now, we all know in the beginning, writing isn't easy. Most people struggle. Some can't even get a single word out. But what matters is this: they know what they want, and they look for ways to do it. And once they get into that rhythm, a habit is formed. From there, writing every day becomes just normal. Please remember this: Stephen King has written dozens of books. That's no small feat, my friends. Even if you consider yourself someone who loves writing, ask yourself, have you written dozens of books? Probably not, right? Because maybe there were days when you woke up and didn't even think about what you needed to write that day. That's the difference. And that right there, that's the powerful lesson we can learn from Stephen King. That's the root habit we're talking about. Same goes for Andrew. Every morning when he wakes up, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, he knows one thing. Today, I want to maintain this health. And so, he finds a way to do that. You've seen it before. People who are truly health conscious are always finding a way, finding an environment, finding an opportunity to improve their health. Even when they travel, they'll still do a few push-ups, go for a morning run. No matter where they are or what they're doing, the goal of protecting their health is always in the back of their mind. They always find a way or a reason to do something good for their body. That's what we mean by a root habit, a deeply foundational habit that matters more than you think. If you can just remember this one thing, you're already halfway to success. When I wake up today, I remember what I want. And when you remember, when you consistently think about what you truly want, let me tell you, your brain is amazing. When you want something, your brain will naturally start to look for a way. The only thing to worry about is you forget. The real danger is waking up and forgetting what you once wanted. Because as long as you want something, your brain will look for a way. But if you're not thinking about it, then what is there to search for? Let me tell you a story. One that might sound all too familiar. In a parallel universe, there's this guy. His name is Forget. Yep, that's right. His name is Forget. Now, Forget has this very interesting tradition. At the start of every year, he writes down his goals. Usually about 3 to 5 of them. Sounds good, right? But here's the funny part. He writes goals every single year and never accomplishes any of them. Why? Because he only writes them down on January 1st. By January 2nd, like he's already forgotten them. Every morning he wakes up, and those goals, not even on his mind. Or maybe, just maybe, he remembers them every once in a while, but never consistently. And you know this already. If you wake up every morning without intentionally thinking about your dream, how can your brain possibly figure out a way to help you? Just observe. People who've been failing for years, let's call them long-term failures. They're usually the ones who want a lot of things, but never do much of anything. They want so much, but they never push through that invisible wall. Why? Because they don't think about what they want when they wake up. At least not every day. Sure, they might remember once in a while, but not daily. Usually it takes some kind of external trigger for them to even remember. Like what? Let's say you see someone succeed in a field you once dreamed of. That might remind you of what you used to want. Or you randomly scroll past an article or a video that happens to touch on something you care about. And boom, suddenly you remember. Or sometimes a friend of yours starts finding success. And then you start to feel a little left behind, a little pressure, a little comparison. And that's when your forgotten dream resurfaces. But in your everyday environment, in the normal, uneventful kind of days when nothing special is happening, most of us, we don't remember our dreams, right? We only remember them once in a while when something special triggers us from the outside. Oh, and there's another situation too. Sometimes it's only when we experience a loss that we suddenly remember our goals. For example, at the beginning of the year, you promised yourself, this year I'm going to work out. I'm going to get healthy. But then the whole year goes by and you forget all about it until your health takes a hit, you get sick, and then you panic. And then you suddenly remember that New Year's goal, and that's such a shame. So why don't your goals or dreams come true? The reason is actually very simple. I've made some reflections in my own life. And honestly, it boils down to this. If a goal is something you only look at once a year, that kind of goal is as good as non-existent. If it's something you check in on every few months, that's a half-baked, halfway kind of goal. But a real goal, one that's solid, meaningful, and actually stands a chance of becoming reality. That's a goal you need to revisit every few days, or better yet, every single day. If you just think about what you want, every day, day after day, for many days, many months, many years, that alone is already a huge step forward. Trust me on this. Like I said earlier, our brain is amazing. If you truly want something, your brain will naturally find a way. Now let me tell you a story. One of those fictional but kind of real stories from another parallel universe. This time, it's about a guy named Albert. Right now, he's struggling with Spanish. Albert really wants to get good at Spanish, guys, so this year, he's determined. The moment the new year begins, he grabs his notebook and writes down his very first goal. This year, I will master Spanish. Why? Because when he looks back at his current level after years of trying, he's still stuck at basic greetings and asking how someone's doing. He's frustrated. He's like, what the heck? I'm not even dumb. I've got a good head on my shoulders. How can I possibly lose to Spanish? So this year, he's fired up. He makes a firm resolution. And then, one night, he has a dream. In that dream, he hears a voice. The voice says, there is a method, a root habit, a habit that's incredibly simple. Every day, just keep remembering what you want. Every morning when you wake up, ask yourself clearly, what do I want today? And naturally, your mind will find a way. Albert is so thrilled, he wakes up in the middle of the night and stays up till sunrise. It felt like a moment of enlightenment, like a message from a prophetic dream. Sounds made up, but strangely, it feels very real. From that day on, he began to change. Nothing big or dramatic. He just started doing one simple thing every morning. Today, I want to get good at Spanish. At first, he only thought about it for 1 minute. Then, little by little, it became 5 minutes. Then 30. He started reflecting, started thinking. And this is the cool part, guys. When you begin to think, you don't even need to know how just yet. But as long as your brain is reminded every single day, it will automatically switch into solution search mode. But first, just want it. The how will come later. What do we mean by how? You might think, man, I've been thinking for 30 minutes and I still can't come up with a method. So what? That's okay. Let's just go back and review some of those vocabulary words I jotted down a while ago. Because honestly, I don't even know where to start with learning Spanish right now. So, might as well start with what I already have. Albert remembers back when he was in school, he had this little notebook with about 300 Spanish vocabulary words. But like most of us, he'd study them and then forget. Just 300 words. And years later, he still hadn't memorized them. All right then, let's pull them out and start over. Start there, and we'll figure out the rest later. Okay, so he begins reviewing. He memorizes about 5 to 7 words, spends half an hour doing it. Done. There it is. Good job. Day 1, Spanish practice complete. The next morning, he wakes up, and he keeps going. Today, I want to get good at Spanish. Gotta find a way. Thanks to the momentum from the day before, those same 300 words are still lying around. So he keeps reviewing them. And just like that, for an entire month, every single day he wakes up and tells himself, today I want to get good at Spanish. And honestly, he didn't come up with any genius method. No revolutionary language hack. He just stuck with this super old school method. Whatever, I'll just keep reviewing those same 300 words. Every day, about 30 minutes of review. Then done. He keeps going like that. A full month, 30 days doing the exact same thing over and over. But then, destiny strikes on day 31. A new thought begins to form. Of course, that morning starts just like every other. Today, I want to get good at Spanish. How, though? How am I going to do this? But there's a small problem. Wait a sec, it's been 30 days. I've already memorized all 300 words. I know them like the back of my hand. So now what? He starts to feel a little bored. But like I said, our brain is amazing. Every morning when you wake up and give your life a clear command like, today, I want this. It will find a way. I'm serious. I've experienced this firsthand. I know how real it is. So when Albert kept telling himself, I've got to do something. I want to get good at Spanish. I have to do something. Suddenly, a thought popped into his head. Oh wait, these vocabulary words, I've seen a bunch of them before in the Spanish reading passages from my textbook. Back when he was studying from that textbook, every time he came across a difficult passage, he'd shut down. He couldn't read the whole thing because he'd keep running into unfamiliar words. It was like, nope, don't get it. Total blackout. So he'd have to stop reading, go look up the vocab separately, and try to memorize it in isolation. It was exhausting. But now, things were different. Now he knew those 300 words. So why not go back and reread those old passages? Oh, I've got something to do now. Nice. Feels good, doesn't it? So he dove back into the old textbook. That day, he set aside 30 minutes to read a passage. Done. Next day, he read another one. This time, without even needing to check the vocab, because first, he already knew the words. Second, when he saw strange sentence structures, he forced himself to pause and think. Try to figure it out. Then the next day, same thing. And then, funny how life works. Sometimes misfortune is actually a blessing in disguise. On day 60, he finished the entire textbook. At this point, his Spanish reading skills had noticeably improved. But remember, every single day he woke up and told himself, today I want to get good at Spanish, I have to do something. But then, a new problem showed up. I finished the textbook. Now what? So he sat back down and started thinking again. And then he came up with a pretty clever idea. Hey, what if I try something new? Like, download a Spanish article or blog post from the internet. Then step 1. Study the vocabulary first. Step 2. Go back and read the article once I understand the words. And that's exactly what he did. And guess what? Everything started feeling way easier. Because by now, He already had dozens of days practicing this method. Not to mention, he'd gotten familiar with a lot of sentence structures. He remembered many useful phrases, and his vocabulary had been growing little by little. So he just kept going, of course. In the beginning, when he downloaded those new reading passages from the internet, they were still hard, but he just kept doing it. And so, over the next 90 days, he stayed consistent, downloaded new reading materials, pulled out the new vocabulary first to study, then went back and read through the entire article. And after just a little over 6 months, he could finally read Spanish texts. He wasn't afraid of them anymore. He could read them. He could understand them. And he felt more confident. And it seemed like for the very first time in his life, he had finally experienced a small win with Spanish. Just one skill. Just a little area. But it was clear. He had officially become good at reading in Spanish. That's when he sat down and reflected. Wait, how did I even achieve this success? And other than that root habit, there really wasn't any better explanation. What habit? Waking up every morning, knowing exactly what he wanted and just wanting it again and again, day after day, that alone worked wonders on his brain. Because when you keep wanting something enough, your brain will find a way. Even if it's the oldest, most basic method, it still brings you closer to success, one day at a time. And you know what? It's the same in love, too. You guys always complain. Love these days fades so fast. It's fragile. It doesn't last. But let me ask you honestly, every morning when you wake up, do you ever ask yourself, today, do I want to do something meaningful for this relationship? Be honest with me. Seriously, just answer that from the heart. Because if you do, then I'm telling you, you will start to find a way. Each morning, you'll begin to ask yourself, what can I do today to contribute to this relationship? And you'll start to think, start searching your mind, and eventually, the ideas will come. And you'll naturally find ways to express genuine, meaningful love. Let's say it's nighttime, and you notice your partner looks kind of down. You'll know to ask something simple like, hey, you look a little off tonight. What's going on? Want to talk about it? Just that one small question. Boom. That's your relationship KPI for the day. Done. Because all it takes is one thoughtful act a day, and the other person will feel your love. And the next morning, you ask yourself the same question again. What can I do today to nurture this love? Then you suddenly realize, wow, I've been loving on autopilot this whole time, haven't I? And just like that, you shift directions. You go out and buy a book on love, on relationships. You start taking your emotional life seriously. And from that moment on, every day you live with the mindset, I'm cultivating, I'm nurturing, I'm contributing to this relationship, and I'm grateful to have someone to love. Now look, I'm not saying that if you live like this, you'll never break up. Nothing in life is 100% guaranteed. But I can say this, the quality of that love, it'll be so much higher. And the chances of things falling apart, way lower. Compared to those relationships that run purely on instinct, with no awareness, no learning, no intention. In other words, that's love without heart, love without effort, love without care. So please, if you remember just one thing from this whole episode, let it be this. Just this one root habit. It will naturally give birth to a whole bunch of other amazing habits. Every morning, just remember one thing. What do I really want in this life? You've got to see it, my friend. You've got to see it clearly. Every day, print it out and stick it on your wall. Shrink it down and tuck it in your wallet. Make it your phone wallpaper or set it as a reminder on your alarm clock. Whatever works for you. Just make sure every single morning, every single day, you bring your attention back to what you're aiming for. And this whole thing, it actually has a beautiful metaphor. It's like growing a tree. If you plant a tree, how do you help it grow? There's one very important thing, seriously, listen to this. It's the root habit. Every morning when you wake up, step 1. You've got to see the tree. Step 2. You've got to ask yourself, what can I do today to help it grow? You have to see the tree. Then maybe today you water it a little. That's it. Nothing big. Just a little water. Or, hey, look at the soil. It's looking a bit dry. So you add a bit of fertilizer. Done. As long as you see it every day and you ask the question, what can I do to nurture it today? You'll always find a way. And believe me, there are thousands more ways than you think. That right there. That is the root habit that every successful person has. Try and see if you can find any successful person who doesn't have this habit. They remember their goal so deeply, it's like it's embedded in their skin. It's in their bones. It means the moment they wake up, they're already thinking about their goal. But for those of us who are just getting started, who tend to forget, get distracted, please make it a point to remind yourself every day. Keep thinking often about what it is you really want. And once you think deeply enough and long enough, your mind will always find a way. That's how it works, my friends. Always. So let me wrap up today's episode with the reflection I shared earlier. A goal you only look at once a year is basically the same as not having a goal at all. And this is exactly why most New Year's resolutions don't work. A goal you only revisit every few months is a goal that ends up incomplete, stuck halfway. But a goal that you review every few days, or better yet, every single day, that's the kind of goal that actually has a chance to become reality. And that is the story of the one powerful habit that every successful person has. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a like. It really helps support the channel. And if you'd like more insights and practical tips to help you grow and become your best self, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.